Hello everyone and welcome to my Sketchbook Journal creative live stream. I'd like to initially welcome anyone watching this broadcast on the replay. I want to thank you so much for joining me on this creative journey. I hope you find something here that inspires you. If you love art, watching art happen live, the occasional print giveaway, learning about the creative process, and exposure to inspiring artists both past and present, then you're in the right place. For those of you that don't know me yet, my name is Peter Bragino. I'm a full-time artist, musician, and entrepreneur. I make my living selling prints of my work through my online store, which is located at www.bragino.com. I'm currently creating art out of my studio in Amityville, New York. I host a bi-monthly gathering in my studio called Artists in the Attic, where creatives of all levels and disciplines come together to support one another in this creative journey. The reason I began live streaming was to share my knowledge and passion for art, to continue my study of the creative process, increase my productivity on the many projects I have on hand, and to open up a dialogue about art with anyone willing to engage in that conversation. Now, without further ado, let's get to the task at hand. I had music on yesterday in a live stream, but today I don't think I'm going to have any music. Only because I got pinged with like 5 copyright infringement notices yesterday on my YouTube channel. So I'm not sure if that's a very good thing. Actually, it's not a great thing. It wasn't really that big of a deal, but I was playing a Pandora channel, one of my favorite Pandora channels, which is kind of like a Zen music channel, and Facebook noticed every single one of my songs and identified them with like a Shazam app or something like that. I'm assuming that's what they're using, Shazam, something to that degree, in order to figure out exactly what's going on, or at least what songs are being played. And I get it, yeah. Every artist should be paid for their work. I understand that. But that means that I don't have any music, which I guess is okay. So I'm probably going to be a little bit messy here for the beginning of this. I'm trying to set up a scene, and I want to create a background initially on this piece. I'm looking to create kind of like a forest scene with a big giant tree. There's going to be a huge tree in the center of this, and the tree is where the queen of the forest lives. And it's a very magical tree. So, kind of curious of what that looks like. I'll show you this, just zoom out for a second. I have reference sitting all the way around my entire palette here. And I just want to point that out as a means to, once again, open up some kind of dialogue. If anybody has any questions about how things are done, or what steps are taken. I definitely got the idea of using like hardcore reference from watching guys make like concept art, and it's so helpful. I really wouldn't make art anymore without having reference, especially when you're making it on the fly like this. I think it's important to have that reference. You'll notice that I scribble a lot when I draw. I think that kind of comes from It comes from drawing a lot, but it also comes from airbrushing and spray painting. It's like it's very easy to put down rhythms and ideas with a spray paint can or with an airbrush. But they're usually, well, I developed like some kind of like scribble idea, and then I turn those scribbles into more. Well, I use them as like a basis, like an underlying basis for design. So it kind of informs design decisions, and it starts to open up a dialogue between myself and the page. I don't think that sun is even going to be seen, or moon. No, it could be a sun. But I'm going to leave it there anyway. I didn't work this composition out prior. I kind of have it in my head, so we'll see how this all unfolds. I'm also trying to set up sort of a nighttime scene, because the first time that the characters in the graphic novel encounter this tree, or the home of the Queen of the Forest, it is at night, or almost, it's like dusk. At least that's the idea I have in my head right now about the way it plays out. And the reason it's at dusk is because, one, it's a magical time of the day. And this is a very magical tree, or very magical dwelling where the queen lives. So, and the other reason is that there's lanterns hanging from the tree. The reason for the lanterns is unknown yet, but I will figure that out eventually. But there's definitely a good reason. But the tree came to me in a vision that I had during a ceremony. I have like a rough drawing of it. I didn't put the drawing, the thumbnail, the sketch of the tree in here. I should have, but I remember what it looks like in my head. So that's pretty good for the background. I might just darken some portions of the sky as well. In observations of the sky, I have personally observed that it's generally darker at the top and lighter at the bottom. So that's the thought process that's kind of informing my decision right now. I think I mentioned things like that, or I generally want to talk about things like that, just because I've studied a lot of concept design. And I have a lot of respect for concept designers, and the reason why I have a lot of respect for them is that one they're very well studied, and not just like, they study everything. Well, some of them, some concept designers specialize in specific areas, but a lot of them are well versed in most areas, and generally. A good deal of concept designers have gone to college for a variety of things, so they're well-versed artists. But what really intrigues me about them is the fact that they understand conceptually the way the world works. And that those concepts are what drives their image making abilities. it's kind of like common sense for art, so to speak. I mean, that's the way I see it. So when you understand, the point I'm making is that when you understand the way the world works, it helps you to become a better artist, because you can make decisions on the fly, knowing the nature of the way the world works visually. And that, to me, equals freedom. I know there are plenty of people out there that are incredible painters, and any painter that really studies their craft deeply. I have friends that are of that level. They end up really, really knowing their stuff, and when that happens, they can take a painting that they did out in the field, and they can translate it into a new painting that is something different, which is basically what I'm doing right now. I'm taking a bunch of other paintings and I'm translating them into the idea of a new idea. And I think when you can do that, you really open up yourself to storytelling. And storytelling to me is very important. I have some reference images of this like huge tree. It's actually not a huge tree. It's a small, tiny little thing, but it looks big only because the angle I took a real low angle picture of it. Actually, I can zoom out. It's this. I'm circling the tree right here. It's actually really small. It's only about maybe 12 inches high and about 24 inches wide. Or I can zoom in and pull the board down. Here, this is better. It's this right here. This was very small, but it's hard to tell how small it is. I mean, this could be enormous if I just put like a little person right here. Then the scale reference would show that this was an enormous object, but in reality, it's a very small little tree. But I was thinking that would be the bottom of the base of the actual tree. I really should bring this down. So we'd be looking up at this tree with like a forced perspective going up. The tree would go away from us. I've been intrigued by and generally studying the idea of scale. And I'm just going to put these little characters down here. That would be the two main characters standing on the ground. I think this tree is two. I think I feel like the tree's leaning back too much. That's just like a perspective situation. I'm just generally trying to establish the overall, I'll call it the composition. I've heard it called a notan. So yeah, technically it's the black and white organization of the page. They might have characters might have some sort of lantern with them. That the lantern might be something that creates like a light spot. So if this tree was casting a shadow like this, I'm just gonna throw in some tone on this and get some color into this piece. My monitor is like shaking right now as I draw. So I think it's important to note that what I'm doing right now is something generally I've never done. So I've never drawn, with this color palette or with this subject matter. I didn't really work out the composition beforehand, which might have been a good idea, but it doesn't really matter. But I do have reference photos, and that's kind of guiding my way. So that's a good thing. The reference photos will inform a lot, and I'll just keep working with the image until I move myself towards something that feels better. Keep layering up. The idea with this tree is that eventually it's going to have lanterns on it, because that's the Queen of the Forest tree is. I mentioned that before. It has all these lanterns hanging from it, and I need the atmosphere around the lanterns to feel kind of dark, just so that the lanterns stand out. Kind of like that. It's kind of interesting. What I like about the light that I just put down here, glowing from the lantern, say that the characters are going to use. What's interesting about that is that it sets up repetition with variation. So we have the sun here, and then we have the spot on the ground, and they mimic one another. Repetition with variation is always a good idea in general. So, and then that gives me a way to. I don't know if this would really light the underneath of this tree, but at least it gives me some kind of secondary light source to kind of light other things up. Because the image that I'm looking at, there is light shining up underneath the tree, and it's from the ground, but this would work as well. This would completely work. technically you can walk underneath this tree, and it doesn't really kind of look like that yet, but I'm going to definitely keep working on that until that comes through. I'm just trying to establish like masses of shapes, and then eventually I'll be able to go back into things and start defining stuff a little bit better. I think that the tops of some of these branches would get sky color. I know of other artists that would or do actually set up lighting situations that would mimic what this piece would need. And stuff like that helps. It really does. Right now I'm kind of just like making a lot of this up, but it's okay. To me, mostly art is a learning process. I haven't painted anything in my lifetime that I didn't learn something from. And this piece is no different than any of those other ones. It's here to teach me something. I'm sure that it certainly will do that. Because they always do. They always do. The thing that's different about this tree is that my point of view in the picture was like down here, horizon line. Right now, the way I'm looking down on these characters, it's as if the point of view is up here. So that would mean that it would be hard to see underneath the tree. So I'm going to correct that. So I think what the best thing to do would be to do this. Just do like a thumbnail. So if that was a horizon line, the characters were standing here like this. This this perspective that I'm working out right now in this thumbnail is much more appropriate. I'm always telling everyone else to do thumbnails. And I did not do a thumbnail. That's better. This works much better. just going to erase the characters, you know, the designation of what the characters would have been in there. Stick the horizon line back in there. This is a 1-point perspective. Sometimes I forget how important horizon lines are, but they are extremely important. And that is evident right now. This tree that I drew before, there's a lot of the colors that I want. I might just use it. Maybe I won't want to use it. I'll just color pick it. erasing these lanterns just because scale-wise they're too big. At least that's my feeling. They're making the tree look small. They really should be like tiny little dots. These tree branches, I think, need to be less spiky and more organic. And that actually could be a place for some of the lanterns to hang too. Let's see here. It's kind of interesting looking tree. Don't know if it's Queen of the Forest worthy though, but we'll keep going with it. Put the sky color on top of things. I really need to put some darks here in the sky. I'm sorry, in the bark of the tree going up. Really, all this texture stuff should be really small because technically this tree is really far away from where we are right now. Now it doesn't really look like that yet, but it will. At least that's my plan. If you are watching this on the replay, or if you're watching right now, hey Gary, what's up, my friend? Sorry, dude, I didn't see you in the comment box there. I know, Gary, I don't want to put music on because I don't want to get copyright things on my channel again. It's like anything I say on this live cast, if I have to take the music off, I'd have to take all the audio off, so then it wouldn't have my vocals on it. It wouldn't have my voice on it. I know the voice isn't, the vocals aren't incredibly, probably may not be the best, as far as the mic is concerned, but yeah. So I'm going solo. I'm listening to the I'm going silent. Sorry, I'm listening to the crickets right now, which is actually pretty lovely. There we go. Maybe the horizon is tilted a little bit. The reason the horizon is tilted a little bit is because this is the first time that the characters are seeing the Queen of the Forest's tree, or her home. Well, the purported home of the tree of the Queen of the Forest. Nobody really technically knows because the Queen of the Forest is a mysterious creature that not many people have really seen, so we're not sure exactly. They say she lives here, and I presume she probably does, but there's no way of knowing for sure. At least not as far as the story of what the story's offered so far. Just giving this tree a bit of a haircut to give it a little bit more shape. mighty forest right now, but there's a clearing here. Well, there's some trees. Maybe some trees that go like this. And I feel like some music would be good right now as well, but sorry, I'm just gotta answer somebody on text real quick. What I really should do say, yeah, I'll be right back. Watch a slideshow real quick, and I'll be right back with you. And I'm back. Oh, that was fun. Gary's saying he wants to he wants to call me and put him on speakerphone so he can sing, make up songs so we don't get any copyright infringement on the video. That's a good idea, Gary. I can't say it's not. It is a good one. Let's see here. I know, it is so quiet. What are you gonna do? I'll figure it out eventually. We'll put this tree into an embankment here. Try to establish some distance. Let's see here. Is it dark? So what I'm going to do right now is put a black and white adjustment layer over the top of this. The reason I'm doing that is because I need to make sure that this image reads well in black and white, and I'm having a feeling that it might not be reading so great. If it doesn't read well in black and white, it really doesn't translate well compositionally. So oh, here we go. Oh, there you go. All right. It's not too bad. It's going to work for right now. Put a shadow underneath this tree because I think that'll just help ground it, so I can kind of see what the hell's what's going on here. Alright, these flowers are, these bushes are going to need to come forward here. Casey, you watching me on YouTube, my friend? You know my buddy Casey. No, he's more like my brother than my buddy, but he's sending me text messages saying I see you. So I'm assuming that he means that he's watching me live on YouTube. Put some light down here as if our main characters are standing there. I'm kind of like setting up a little spot for them to stand in. Try to keep all this stuff in the foreground and shadow, just because compositionally it'll work better that way. Establish some shapes here. Let's see here. One of the references I'm looking at has some pretty bright green leaves in it. Let's see if I can. Oops. The screen is like jumping all over the place. See if I can get some of that bright green stuff over here. It's like the vegetation growing on these rocks. It's like tree rocks. It actually feels good to get a little bit more color in there. So I'm going to keep all this stuff in the foreground, kind of dark and shadow. Give me 1 second, I'm just going to save this because I forget to save things. It's already saved. Today is 8/9. Yep. Alright, just going to update that real quickly. Take a drink of water here. Alright, yeah. Casey, my buddy Casey's watching me. That's cool, man. Man, it's fine. You see me flipping the canvas every once in a while. And the reason I'm doing that is because if you don't flip the canvas, you get too used to seeing it in a specific way, and what happens is that your eye gets too used to the image, and you can't see any like mistakes or things that aren't working in the piece. So you flip it, and that allows you to see it with like fresh eyes. Right, there really should be some kind of middle ground here. So I'm going to do that in the light of trying not to work on one thing for too long. I am going to grab this color, maybe this color right here, maybe even a little bit darker than that. Let's see if I can establish some actual like trees. I don't know if I like those dark ones going behind that area, so I'm going to take those out real quick. don't think that any of the other trees in this area should be nearly as big as the Queen of the Forest tree. So I'm going to make them not so big. Especially this guy. This is too big. Be like a tree up on a hill or something. Just establish like some hills. See, these trees are too dark. So what I need to do is kind of ghost them back into the distance. Just gonna clean this up real quick. Photoshop is acting so slow right now. Okay, I know I put the black and white on. Alright, so see, like that, it reads much clearer. These trees, what I'll do is this is something. Basically trying to fill these trees with like one color. get it to be lighter. Some color like that probably works a little bit better. What I'm doing right now is I'm attempting to make a levels adjustment. What levels does is it allows you to punch the contrast of things, which is pretty important. I'm just also going to select all these perspective lines and cut them off this layer because they're on the same layer as the tree and they're not really that necessary anymore, even though they look cool. And they're actually necessary. I'm putting them on their own layer so that I can change the opacity of them, kind of make them go away a little bit, so I can still see them, but they're not affecting the actual image itself. Okay. Alright, let me get back to these trees in the background. So I can imagine if you're watching this, it's kind of boring at this point. Whenever you put a levels adjustment onto something, it kind of creates like a I'll call it like a screen over the top of it, it messes up the color basically. So I'm trying to color pick what's on this palette, and the levels adjustment is not allowing me to do that. But the only way to avoid that is to collapse the layers and lose all the layers that I have, which I don't know if I'm ready to do right now. But I will figure that out pretty quickly here. Right, I'm just going to paint it without the levels adjustment for right now. And take the perspective lines away so I can see what I'm doing. Alright, that gray in the background is basically supposed to be simulating a forest environment. I'm sure it could get better than that, but for right now, I'm going to kind of leave it. All right, sorry I'm so quiet. I'm burning brain power right now. Why am I burning brain power? Well, I'm burning brain power because I'm trying to figure out how all this stuff works. And it takes some brain power to do that. So, yeah. It's definitely not... It's definitely not something that you can take lightly as far as... well, I mean, you know, when you're trying to paint stuff like this that adheres to a lot of different rules or ideas of the way things look, um, or just depicting form in general, it can be pretty taxing on the brain, just because, you know, it's a lot to think about. Toying with the idea of adding in a little bit of a more closely foreground element, like I think this actually makes sense visually. I don't know if these should be like bigger. Just because they're much closer. if I like those. Let's do a little flip. Let's see what it looks like. I'm taking those out. Why? Because I feel like they just mimicked exactly what was behind them. And that is not helping anything, really. It's just like redundancy. But I still do want to establish some kind of separation of vegetation over here. Yeah, there you go. Just maybe like lower lying vegetation. I don't know if this tree looks small or big anymore. It's hard to tell. But I'm going to try to remedy that. I really should put characters in here. I'm going to do that. So now this character needs to read. When I say read, I mean you need to be able to see it in silhouette. It's pretty decent, but I think the character could be smaller than that. Zoom in here real quick. It's probably a better size for the character. See what the levels adjustment looks like. I'm going to draw a Black Panther into the scene. It's a really rough looking Black Panther, but I just want to establish the idea that there is a cat or some sort of animal hanging out next to her. Alright, I don't need to spend too much time on this, but I'm imagining that she has some kind of lantern in her hand, and I'm going to depict that by a really bright light. I guess it's pink. I don't know. Let's leave it as pink for right now. inside slightly white. Alright. Sorry, my brain is like going like a million miles an hour right now. Not in a bad way, just in a figuring things out sort of way. But the real lesson here is that you shouldn't really get caught up in the details because that little stuff right there doesn't really matter. But I just want to establish that story point of the two main characters. Just trying to establish a little bit of more shadow in the foreground. I'm like going backwards right now in time, real quick to a spot where I hadn't darkened the foreground, just because I could paint back over it, but I kind of want to see what it looked like before I did that. And this is painstaking right now. Hey Sarah, if you're still on, yeah, I'm just seeing your comments. Sorry about that. It takes just as much brain power to draw as it does to solve complex math equations. I would agree with that. I would agree with that. And then there's Gary. Put a dragon in there. You know, a dragon probably would be pretty cool in this. So I need to like keep my eyes on that. I'm so focused on what I'm doing here. I didn't even see the chat box. So I apologize about that. Alright, let's see here. Perspective lines. There's a couple more things I just want to stick in here, and then I'm going to wrap it up, but I'm not that close to wrapping it up, but I'm getting there. Let's see here. I just want to see what it looks like with birds actually flying through the sky. The last thing I want to do, let's see here, these birds. The last thing I want to do is I want to put some lanterns into this. Hakuna Matata. Yeah. Nice one, Sarah. Yeah. Where is Simba, by the way? Oh, he's a Black Panther instead. See how that happens? You don't have to make your own stories up. You just need to steal from everybody else's. Lanterns. Alright. So, I think this is going to be a good color addition to this thing. I'm going to put some orange lanterns into this tree. just trying to light up these lanterns. See, because the Queen of the Forest, she has lanterns in her tree. I know I said that like 10 times already in this thing, but there's an important story point here, but I don't know what that is yet. Actually, maybe nobody knows what that is. Yeah, well, Gary, if you just waited 1 second, you would see that I was just talking a lot. Silence is deafening. I hear you. I hear you, buddy. Anyway, nobody really knows why the Queen of the Forest has lanterns in her tree, or hanging from her tree. It's just one of those things. I know at this point of the live stream, with me making such little edits on the image, it can't be too exciting to watch, but I'll try to figure that out. I think normally I should probably work on more things and not such little details, but I think that's good enough probably for this image. It feels pretty sparkly. The nighttime is going down, and I'm pretty happy with the way the image looks. As far as the color palette, the mood, and what it's trying to portray, it's definitely a good step in the right direction. So I feel pretty successful with this, and I think that's a good thing. So I feel like I'm working in slow motion because like everything I'm doing in Photoshop is taking forever. So it's like I don't know, my brain is moving in slow motion because of that. But I don't think there's really much more that I could do to this right now. I probably have to take some time to step away from it and look at it with fresh eyes. I mean, even flipping it still feels good. Yeah, I think it's pretty solid. Gary, can you hear me, buddy? Because I've been like talking like crazy, and your chat box thing looks like maybe you can't hear me. I'm gonna type into the chat box. Maybe we can communicate that way. Also, let me know if you can still see the feed. So it looks like I'm still streaming. I'm not sure. Feed looks like it's good. Let's see here. The OBS software looks like it's still working, so Hopefully you guys can let me know whether or not you can hear me. Okay, that's good. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I know the video and audio is definitely on a delay. I guess that's just the nature of the beast when you're dealing with the internet. Guys, I think I'm going to... Well, I said I'd go to 9:45, so I am going to go to 9:45. Let's see what else I can do here. I have a picture. Actually, I got a picture of a panther. Let me hide something here on my screen, and then I'm gonna maybe use that space to sketch out this panther real quick. Let's see. Hide that. Yep. Okay. Yeah, everything is delayed. Even my actions that I make in Photoshop right now are delayed. Not too much, but enough that it's annoying. Let's see here. I'm gonna draw this like little panther. Hey, Sarah or Gary, if you're still around, and I'll put this in the chat box as well. Let's see here. Do you have any questions about the painting I just did? If so, cool. If not, oops. If not, I'm going to draw out this panther. That's what it sounds like when you talk and type at the same time. Alright, it's like Gary lost sound, but Sarah, you look like you're okay. I got video and audio, you deleted it though. Alright, awesome. And it's not awesome that I'm delayed, but it's awesome that you can hear me. Let's see here. I'll try to do this like rough sketch of this panther and see what this is all about. I'm going to approach this panther sketch as if I'm drawing a human figure, which kind of makes sense. There's no reason why you shouldn't do that. This leg comes down and in front of, like he's reaching out. This is not necessarily, this leg is coming like this, but his foot is turned. It's almost like he's turning his paw in. I'll try to talk my way through this whole thing as well, because I need to get used to just talking when I'm drawing. Let's see here. So I just want to establish some tone on him, just to, or actually her. This graphic novel that I'm working on, The Panther, is a girl, and the lead go for the panther. Awesome. Alright, I'm gonna go for that panther then. That is so funny. Actually, let me zoom in on this if I can still see my thing, just because I know this is kind of a small drawing and it's probably easy to see it if I zoom in. Now the panther that I'm looking at is, here it is. I'll pull it into the center of the screen. It's this panther right here. But my panther is turning a different way. I'm kind of changing the angle of the panther, but I'm just using it. I'm looking as if I'm looking up above the panther a little bit more. So I'm definitely changing that, which is totally cool. It's okay to change things like that. It's actually something, when I studied figure drawing, that's one of the main things that we focused on. We focused on never being a slave to your reference, and being able to change things at will. So basically I'm using the panther as a reference, and then I'm adjusting as necessary. Let's see here. So this actually feels a lot like something I would do figure drawing wise, and I might even extend the panther out a little bit. When I draw stuff like this, I'm seeing it kind of let me give him a bigger paw here. So just that other paw didn't look like it was big enough to support him. So he's a big beast. His body, let's see his left leg. It's kind of a weird angle because this leg is going to go behind him, but and into his ear, which is kind of what we would call like a tangent. So I'm going to see if I can correct that so that that leg doesn't go right into that ear. Now I know that a panther's leg usually kind of sticks out and points out this way. Looks like a caboose, like a long train. It's a really extended panther. Alright, let's just play with that for a minute. Let's just say that it's like super extended panther. We'll see what happens, what that looks like. I suppose that could work. I would think that so I can make that tail extend and go follow the movement of the animal, which makes him even longer. Well, that's all right. Color this tail in. Oops. Let's get the head colored in because he's a Black Panther. Let's see here. Put the shadows up underneath him like this. Tail. Now, for some reason when you put a shadow on the ground, it always makes it look so much better. Make that shadow kind of come across with him. Or her, sorry, it's a her. Putting some dark, really dark tone on the head because visually that makes the head kind of come forward. Darker tones always come forward. So like this, like put some lighter tones back here on this foot. Well, that makes sense for a light source as well, but like I could do this. People do this a lot. They'll take like this color, the background color or something, and you can kind of like ghost out. I don't really like the way that looks, but it's a little too heavy. So I'm going to reverse that out for a minute. Alright, so let's get back to this. Panther, Panther, Panther. Alright. I mean, I kind of like the way this panther looks. He's a little thin, but at the top of him up here should be probably thicker. Like this area right here. I should probably build this up a little bit. This part of his body should be thicker going around this way. Yeah, Gary, glowing eyes. Yeah, buddy. Believe me, I'm about to do it. That was definitely the next deal. Because, well, first of all, the panther in the story has glowing eyes. They're green though; they're not yellow like what we have up here. So let's go in and do some of those eyes. Pick some greens that I have over here. So with things that glow, just in case you ever want to make things look like they glow, hold on this one. So what makes things glow is this. really saturated colors. I'll show you what I mean by that. I don't know if you've ever like studied what things, like if I look at this color palette here, this is full saturation up here in the top right corner. Down here is not that saturated. So if I want these eyes to glow, like most people would think, oh, you just make them light and it'll look like it glows, but it doesn't. Glowing things, you do get the white in like the really hot part of the glow, but what makes things look like they glow is super saturated colors. So watch this. So now I'll put that super saturated color in there. And that automatically makes those eyes look like they glow. If I really want to, I mean, you can go and take, like a really light color like that too, and get that down in there. But it's not the light color that makes it look like it glows, it's the saturation. And then, as well, so this right here. So if something is glowing, then this is going to happen as well. This color sorry, I'm getting like text messages. This color is also going to glow out onto other things. So that glow would kind of like catch face. Would kind of like light some things up here. Let's just do that. Also make this structural. Hey, look, I'm a panther and I have glowing eyes. Now messing around with details that I don't need to mess around with, but you can do that stuff all day. Actually, it was like, oh wait, hold on a second. It was like this, down, and like that. Ooh, glowy. So this would actually look even better if I did this. I'll just put like a little I'll put a little thing behind him, and I'm going to, let's just put him into a composition. And then underneath that, I'll pick a color. I'll do black, and I'll just make like a, oops. Try to color this in without. The other thing that helps glow is the colors around it. I mean, as I darken this, the eyes will get much more glowy. darken this again. Just darken the front a little bit. And where's my panther? So I'm trying to find the panther layer real quick. I think that's it. Yep. There are some things here that I have to darken in this. I get rid of that. There you go. You can see his glowing eyes a little bit more. I'll leave that frame off of there. Kind of looks cooler without it. Alright, so this is what we did today. Whiskers! Okay, let me get some whiskers on this guy. That is so funny. I didn't see that, sorry. Yes, let me do whiskers and then I'll call it a night. Let's see here. Let's see what this guy's whiskers look like. Wow, yeah, they're long. Jesus. Actually, really. Hey, I'm Whisker Boy. They call him Whisker Boy, by the way. I don't know if you knew that, but yeah. That's his new name. He's Panther the Whisker Boy. It looks like that's a wrap for tonight. I had an amazing time, and I learned so much. I'd like to thank you for watching and let you know how grateful I am for having you here. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for notifications of when I go live or post new videos. You can connect with me on Twitter and Instagram by searching @Bragino. My website is www.bragino.com. Visit me there for more of my art and to purchase prints of my work. Thank you so much.